Well, I'd like to introduce our guest tonight. He's a man who's been around for a long time, and I'm going to let him tell his background. And Gordon Smith and I worked a couple of years ago in California, the demonstration. It was one of the most incredible experiences. I enjoyed Gordon. He's a lovely person, and he sent me a kilt to wear, so I'm wearing a kilt tonight in honor of Gordon. I'll show you. Just step back. Was
Looks
underneath the kilt,
great.
but I'm not saying. But so please welcome Gordon Smith, everyone.
Wow.
Hi, Gordon.
Hi,
Hi,
Kelly, and
Gordon.
Welcome.
hi, James, my good friend, you adorable man. And Kelly, I have really been looking forward to meeting you, and you're an
Oh,
absolute angel. I can tell that
thank
right
you.
away.
Oh, you're so sweet. Thank you. I'm so glad to meet you. And you're all the way in the Highlands of
I
Scotland.
am indeed, yes.
At 2 in the
I
morning.
I actually am a kilt. And that's Scottish. But no, I live, Kelly, in the most beautiful part of Scotland, the West Highlands, where we have mountains behind us, we have the ocean in
Hmm.
front, and it's an incredible. It's an old country, Scotland, and when I
Wow.
look at it, like even. I was born the seventh son of a seventh son.
Wow.
So it's quite a rare thing. And when I was born, it was an Irish midwife who delivered me into the world. And she told my parents, she said, "Oh, this boy has the sight. He has the gift, the gift." And of course, these are old myths and legends and things. And it's as I grew older and I started to develop and interviews that I did and stuff, people would say, "What is it about you? You're the seventh in your family. What was your father?" And I said, "Oh, well, he was the seventh as well." And they said, "But isn't that special?" And I said,
Love it.
I have no, I had no idea." And then I've just been doing my family history, and I've moved back to this place, Kelly, in about 6 years ago. I lived in London for a while, and I came to this part of Scotland to live. I was drawn here, and I found out that my ancestry has always come from the West Highlands of Scotland,
Wow.
and they were part of the Highland Seers. So I actually come from a historical background of seers. Pretty bizarre.
Wow. That's you
That
picked the right
explains it.
family.
I really did, didn't I? So if you
Yeah.
can actually choose that, which I'm sure you can, but yeah, I popped into
Wow.
the right family and I've gone back home. So,
Wow.
It's so
so there's
amazing.
something completion-y about that, you're
Yeah.
tying up loose ends, which I love.
Yeah.
Absolutely
And
love
Gordon,
that.
when you were this question, we're all three of us are asked often.
Yeah.
When you were a young child, did you have visions? Did
Yeah.
you see spirit? Did you? What was
Yeah.
your childhood like? 'Cause
Well, I mean, I think I was a kind of sensitive child, but the first time it was when a family friend died, and I was only 7 at the time. My world seems to be strange with the number 7 being 7,
Yeah.
yeah,
but at 7, 14, 21, 28, big major things happened in my life. And at 7 was the first time I saw an actual materialized spirit. And it was this friend of the family, an older man who had died. And he was real. He wasn't a glowing being, he was a man.
yeah.
And he came towards me and spoke to me. It was broad daylight. I was in the front garden. I had just been recovering from a very serious illness. So I was at home with my mum. And I was in the garden just taking in whatever the good weather was. And this man came and he talked to me and he sang a little song, mentioned a word which to a 7-year-old kid meant nothing. The word was Dalbeth. And and he said, "I'm happy in Dalbeth." And I ran in to tell my mum, and my mum was peeling potatoes at the sink, and she dropped everything when I said the word Dalbeth. Years later, she explained that this man died in poverty, and she and my father had buried him. They gathered the money and they buried him in a pauper's grave. It's all they could afford, and the cemetery was called Dalbeth.
Ah,
But they wouldn't mention it to people because they were embarrassed they couldn't afford more. So his message, "I'm happy in Dalbeth." So that was the first message I ever gave. And it was a happy message. And I think through my life, James, that I've realized that the messages we give are joyous and they should be. I don't get
Yeah.
bad news for people. Why on earth would you bring bad
Yeah.
news to people? That's just crazy. And why would the evolved mind of spirit want to do that to people?
So true.
the
It's
intelligence
just
of the spirit world is so
Yeah.
uh,
beyond it.
well, I
Yeah.
think those who say I work with spirits and they bring this tragedy or something, I think, what spirits are you working with? That's your own negativity, guys.
Right.
You're working with your own spirit and you need to develop it because you got to get up there.
Yes.
Do you know, I mean, the way I was brought up in the early part of spiritualism here, and spiritualism in Scotland is very, very strong, and it
You went
was
to
when,
church, right? You were in a church for a little bit
yeah,
there. Yeah.
and yeah, for my sins, we all went to church for our sins, didn't we? But but I learned, I unlearned
Yeah.
the church stuff. The thing about it, James, was going into the church, I learned the foundations of spiritualism, and I don't mean what they do now. I mean what
Mm.
they did, what they were, brought up on, which was that the spirit was this high vibrational frequency. So like we could raise our mind to that higher frequency if we so desired and trained and were disciplined enough. So I did, here we go, Kelly, 7 years in development before I was
Wow.
a medium.
Wow.
7 years.
Wow. Wow.
And then the next 7 years was spent doing all the local little churches, doing your craft, if you like.
Hmm.
So we didn't go to a workshop with some famous medium and then say, "Hey, I'm a medium, I'm developed." You know, I
Right.
call
Right.
that I called that back then the Kodak development. It was instant, Oh, she's done Kodak development. Medium in the morning.
Right. Right.
So no, so for me, the discipline, everything had to have a meaning to you. I see young mediums today who are maybe in their 20s and 30s, and they say, "When I was studying," and you think, "When was that? Yesterday?" You're so young, you still have a placenta attached to you. Seriously, honestly. Oh God, they're getting younger every day. These mediums, they really are.
Well,
I
yeah, my
mean,
brother's here behind us, everybody. If you didn't notice, Michael came. My two brothers are here. Michael just came in from New York. And Gordon, I mean, it's yeah. To ask you, the mediumship now.
mm.
What do you think compared to when we?
Well,
I think
I
you and I
hear.
started roughly the same time. You started a little bit before me, I believe. So 40 years ago,
Do you know
something.
what? It's so long ago, James. I'd
I
need
know.
a regressionist to take me back. It feels like a past life. So, so it does seem so long ago. But the great thing about that is that I look at it now and I hear these terms. Somebody once said to me, "Oh, you're an evidential medium," and I said, "But every medium's an evidential medium. What are you talking about?" The very fact that you tell
Right.
somebody I've got your father here and his name's Donald or something, then if that's not evidence, what is? I don't understand this. And the whole idea of the spirit world is to show us we haven't died. My old catchphrase, you can't die for the life of you.
Right.
Your life force will
Right.
go on and on.
Right.
And that to me, so I only see one type of mediumship, and anything else that's not it is not it. So when somebody stands up and says, I work with the soul, right? I mean, really, what is that about? It's just, stop it right now. I work on a soul level. Oh, really? Okay. That just means you can't do mediumship. and and I don't mean that because there are people out there. When I use the word soul, I use it in a different context. I mean, a soul thing is a really deep, meaningful thing. But if somebody's lost their child, and that's where I work with mediumship with people who have serious loss, and my mediumship has a value to them. So
Yes.
somebody's lost their kid and they just want,
Yeah.
please let me know that the
Mhm.
consciousness is still around. So I don't want to philosophize that moment and say, and the word of God and spirit, they're all coming forward. And I feel the love and the light and the beauty. And I just use so many adjectives that nobody knows what I'm talking about. I'm just going to like over describe everything and you're going to think I'm fabulous. But in actual fact, what's really going on, because to me at that point, you as the sensitive, the medium, you feel that person's broken heart. And you
Yes.
Yeah.
couldn't muck around like
100%.
that, and you shouldn't
Right.
muck around like that. You
100%.
you you literally want to hold them and say, "Come on, let
True.
me
Right.
help you, and let me feel a moment that you can even know for a second that your
And,
kid's
and it's really
okay
about them,
somewhere."
Gordon.
Yeah,
It's really about them. It's
it's
not
not
about
about
you.
me.
It's about them.
I really dislike when I hear mediums saying, "I gave a great message." You
Yeah.
gave a great message. Spirit gave a great message through you. I mean, what
Right.
is wrong with these people who keep
Right.
saying, "Oh, my third message was really, really good," and you think, I take my body along to places and I let the spirit do the rest. I get
Mm.
up and talk because I'm a talker, And I'll say, hi, everybody, I'm Gordon. And in my mind, I've sent out that thought to the spirit, please let's help someone tonight. And during the course of the evening, you feel the energy change. And as I say, you're working, if that's what people would call working with soul, for me, it's the empathy you feel for somebody's broken heart. And as
Yeah.
a little boy, I just
Yeah.
wanted to make people feel better. And I think
Yeah.
that's what my mediumship's about. I just want to make people feel a little bit better. And I don't make any big bones about it, because if other people think it's great, that's good for them. I have to go home and just be me again. And you're not
Gordon,
a medium in your own living room.
and what do
Right.
you think regarding different countries and media? Because you've been around for a long time, different countries you worked and
I
studied
have.
in. What? Tell me about that too, because I've been around different
That's a
countries.
great question.
What's your experiences like with different
Uh,
cities or states or countries or
Well, yeah, I mean, do you
your
know,
point of view?
I think every country that I work in has its own vibe. And I think countries have consciousness in a sense that, especially you go to places, and I mean this in the nicest way, I work a lot in Germanic countries. And I see the younger generations of German people still have the stigma of the war and things like
Yeah,
that around them.
mhm.
And they shouldn't have, it's nothing to do with them. And,
right.
and some older people enforce that, and you think that's not. So when I'm working there, there's not it's not steeped in religion. Say, like I used to work in Italy, and actually a lot of the people in the audience were nuns and priests. That was
Wow.
most disconcerting when you were
Wow.
standing there, But, you know. And I tried to speak Italian, Kelly, and this was hilarious. I said to my translator, let me introduce myself. And it was July, it was hot, it was North Italy. And I stood up and I said, whatever, buongiorno. Io sono, io sono caldi or something like that. And I was meaning, oh, I'm so hot. But what I'd actually said to a bunch of nuns was, oh, I'm sorry, I'm so horny. And the translator looked at me and she was shocked. And I thought, what? I just said I was hot. And she said, no, but you said hot in a sexual way, not hot in a. So anyway, I digress. But, but actually, James, Italy was one of the most profound places because it was felt, again, my job there in that scenario, I went there regularly and I helped families who had lost children. So, I mean, I laugh a lot, and please, people don't think I'm being flippant about this. I'm not, because I take my job very seriously when I have the people in front of me. But
But I find, Gordon, that they're doing, like you said, different countries are doing consciousness. Like when I was
yeah,
in Australia,
oh, yeah,
very, very different than the rest of the world. It was very open, and I
absolutely.
said you're like a bunch of aliens because you were just
Yeah,
so different and really into it. And then you go somewhere
incredible.
else, and it's very, very different.
Yeah, I mean, I think when you work in, say, like Catholic countries like Italy, but then you have to show the respect and the reverence to their religion whilst you're there.
Mhm.
And it would be the same if I've worked in Japan or something. You have to, I mean, I studied Buddhism and I kind of call myself a sort of pseudo Buddhist anyway. So I had great respect and reverence for their religion and beliefs, as you must. You don't need
Mhm.
to be one, but you must
Right.
at least respect the country that you're in. And certain times, like Japan, if you said spirit, I couldn't use the word spirit because that would
I
suggest
mean,
an in-between place where
Yes.
a purgatory kind of hell, oh, spirits are held there. So you had to use consciousness or talk about ancestors. So you couldn't say, I
Mm.
say, I have your ancestors here and it's a father. Oh, right. But if I said I have the spirit of your father, they'd so you had to learn the terms and the things to
Yeah.
communicate.
have you ever
Yeah.
been to Brazil, Gordon?
I have not. I was scheduled to go to Brazil with Hay House some years ago, and I never managed to do that
Oh,
trip, James.
I've done Brazil, done tour book tours down there. You would love Brazil. Very, very spiritual, if you
Mhm.
will. Everyone's a medium, if you will,
Yeah,
But
of
very,
course.
very open. But spiritism, Allan Kardec, spiritism.
Well, spiritism is
Unfortunately,
very different. Yeah,
it's very different. Spiritism
yeah.
is very different than spiritualism. So that's where the religion gets caught up there.
Oh.
But
Well, yeah, it's not spiritualism. Spiritism is more working with spirits, like calling up of spirits.
and it's,
Oh.
it's more Catholic based.
Rituals and
It's
yeah.
Catholic, as they
Yeah,
say.
and
It's
and there's parts of Africa and even in the Caribbean as or the Caribbean, should I say it properly for you guys, um, where spiritism would be a thing. Well, you're talking voodoo, actually. You
Oh.
know,
mm.
the voodoo that you do so well. But no, I think we honor and respect those who honor and respect what they do, and you should. I believe that my mediumship can work with any religion. I have no conflict with anybody's things. And because I am as light-hearted as I can be, because I see no point in
Right.
being difficult. I absolutely see no point. I never argue with other people on their religions or their beliefs, because that's their way. And listen, who I was 30 years ago, 40 years ago, it changes every so often. So you
Mhm.
update, you grow, you evolve. What I
Yeah.
thought 30 years ago, I don't now. So I don't judge other people for having thoughts that I think, oh, they're not seeing that.
Right.
That's what
Right.
they are. Don't argue with it. Just let
That's
it
very
be.
That's
Right.
very true.
James and I talk often about being lighthearted with
Yeah,
the work that we do.
You
you have
have
to
to.
be.
You
Yeah.
Mhm.
have to be.
Well, James, how many times do you find yourself in situations where you're in a a place with a family who are they're just distraught,
Oh,
and you have to bring a vibe to that to try and
mhm.
light the spark again, to ignite
Yeah.
that spark
It's
that they've lost. Do you know? I must, if I may share something I did just before the pandemic hit. And I was asked to see a family. I had no idea anything. I never get knowledge of it. It's neither here nor there whether you do or don't. And I sat with this family, Kelly, and you just feel the
Yeah.
desperation in the room. You feel the atmosphere get heavy. It comes in on you. And this is where some people might think, oh, it was a bad feeling. No, it's their anger,
Right.
their sadness, their sense of loss, their sense of confusion about this. And I remember sitting and I looked at the man and wife, and I said, can I just hold both your hands for a moment, please? And I said, you've never done this before. And they couldn't speak. Actually, their grief was such, that moment where you think,
Yeah.
oh, good God, help them. And in my head, I actually said that. I said, God. And I swore, I said, help them. And I was really, because I meant it.
Right.
I was
Right.
so, and I said, please. And out of my mouth came the words. And I said, oh, your boy's here. His name's Alex. He died. Da, 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 da. Give him this thing. But the important thing here wasn't the evidence like that they'd lost a boy who his name was and all that. The important thing was the message, Kelly, because there was a point. It wasn't my voice anymore. It was the boy saying, "Mum, go home. Stop sleeping on my grave."
oh
And the
wow.
mother
Wow.
couldn't leave her son alone. She wanted. Well, try and imagine what that feels like.
Oh,
Yeah.
And she said, I can't. And I said, he wants you to go home. You've heard him. That's not me. And I realized the importance in that moment of some of the work that we do, James.
mm,
Okay, not every message
Yeah.
has that poignancy, but a lot of what we do changes people's lives or saves
Mhm.
people's lives. And in that instance, I realized sometimes the burden, the weight on your shoulders, what if you didn't get that day? What if you
Right.
weren't able to bring that?
I have a
And you
question
think,
for you,
oh
Gordon.
no.
I
I have a
know.
question for you, and Kelly. You too. I don't know how both of you, because we all work differently.
Mm,
But I would find not always, but there are been times I'm reading someone, an audience or one-on-one, whatever you want to say, and they're in such grief, such heaviness,
yeah,
that sometimes there's really no way in for them to
yeah,
see it. But what I do is, or Spirit does it through me, obviously,
yeah,
will find an aspect of their soul, of a
yeah,
beautiful aspect of their soul, and they bring that forth.
absolutely. Yeah,
Open the door. Does that
Yeah.
happen to you
yeah,
guys too?
Yeah, that happens to me. Yeah. I go in and I wherever the energy takes me, I go in. And I go in usually on a very deep, deep level, like what we were
mm,
talking about. I mean, you're holding somebody's heart here.
yeah,
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 And I have such reverence for that. The fact
yeah,
that I can go in and do that is
yeah.
amazing. And I just
Oh
go
yeah,
with that moment and I hold it as long as I can and as powerfully solid as I can
but
for
something
them.
is very interesting too, Kelly and Gordon, is that sometimes when spirit comes through, which I think is pretty amazing when they
Mhm.
come through, and they will actually sometimes show me or a sense, they show me that
yeah.
person's the bigness of that person,
Yeah.
right? And
Absolutely.
that person doesn't know it for themselves, but you have to remind them who they really are on that level. You've
Yeah.
Yeah.
had that experience, you
Oh, do you
guys.
know that reminds me of that lovely Marianne Williamson thing, doesn't it?
Yeah,
Our deepest fear is not that we are insignificant. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure.
Yeah.
That then brings about such a responsibility to your life.
Yeah.
And this is why, and I hope people who are watching understand, the lightness that we have is because we know you can't
Yeah.
die. So
Right.
that's what we bring to these readings.
yeah.
I've had mothers look at me when I've said, "Oh, your daughter's here," and I can hear her voice and talk, 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 and they know it's the daughter. And I've seen them look at me angrily and say, "How dare you hear my daughter and I don't?" And I'll just say, "But you just need to find a different way to hear her, love. Let me work with you and see if we can." And we
Wow.
try and help because, as you say, Kelly, you're holding their heart in your hands,
Mhm.
and you must always be tender. Any
Mhm.
medium who works with spirit works with grace.
Yeah.
And I don't. You must never ever lose it with people.
Mhm.
And this is why we develop for
But
7 years before we do it. Not
Yeah.
to develop any gift. We develop the person who is the gift.
Mhm.
So my teacher taught me you don't need to develop your abilities as a medium, but you do need to understand who you are as a person. She says that's why you took seven
Right.
years before we let you unleashed on the public. Her words, and I thought it
Right.
was wonderfully wise. She said, Gordon, if you were in medical school, do you think we'd give you a scalpel in the first week? No, we would not. You
Wow.
would
Yeah.
have to. Now, she was the most profound little teacher, and it was all life's little gems that she gave us. But there was nothing more special than just the common sense aspect to it,
Mhm.
which has gone so much out of it today.
so
People want to
true.
keep people want to keep talking about all this mystical, magical stuff, and and you know what?
Yeah.
Oh, if I hear anything else about chakras, I'll fall over them. It's just, do you know what? My
Yeah.
chakras are shattered. Now, having said that, having studied Buddhism as I have, I understand what the chakras are,
Sure.
what they really are, and I don't muck about with that. For me, one my guide once said in a trance communication to a group of people, and somebody had said, "What are chakras?" And the spirit guide said, "Look, there are many things we can explain to you very simply." And there are many things that just won't go into your head at this moment in time. You're not where it is to understand it, and without patronizing you. But they said, try and imagine that you have a light body that surrounds your body, an aura, a light body. And that functions with the light energy and the atmospheric stuff like radio waves, gamma waves, all the things that's there and can come in and out of the body. So each chakra has a role to play, like each organ in the physical body takes in and expels, sends around the body. Every chakra corresponds with every organ. And they said, so if you just look at it, it's light organs and they
Mm.
are
Wow.
supporting your
Right.
light body. And they said, it's not so much keeping you alive, it's keeping your spirit in this world. Your spirit wants to go back all the time. It's allowing your spirit to stay here. And a lot of people keep getting it the wrong way around. They're thinking like, oh, it's so good to be alive. You're like, well, you're always alive. It's just a case of in what
Right.
dimension are you in? And to
Right.
stay in this world, we really need that light body. Is what keeps us in the human world.
Mhm. Well, we talk about being grounded all the time. It's
And
really
that's
important
really what
as
it
a
is. Yeah.
medium to be grounded
Yeah.
in your work.
Well, when you think that if your body is if your aura is electric, if this is electricity that's running through us, everything that's electrical needs to be earthed, otherwise it will explode. So there's your grounding. We
Yeah.
have to ground ourselves in reality. And this is why
Yeah.
sometimes we have to have fun. And again, I know that sometimes I can be so light-hearted in my manner, but it's because because I'm quite a happy person. I'm not afraid of things. If you overcome your fear of death and dying, you overcome your
Right.
fear of life and living. And for
Right.
me, that is exactly it. And once you've done that, you can laugh. And we're not
Right.
laughing at things. What we're laughing at is because we see the irony and you see the
True.
joy
Right.
in it.
So true.
And
Right.
even my kids will look at me and go, Dad, we've watched you do this since we were little boys, and there must be something because you just seem happy. And I said,
Yeah.
kids, honest to God, it's not that I don't get unhappy. Of course I can, but I see the world differently. Do you know what? I sat with my
Yeah.
dad when he was dying, and he said to me, "Do you know, son?" He said, all your life growing up, all I ever did was try to help you not be afraid. He says, and I'm a bit afraid right now. And I leaned over and took my dad's hand, and I said, right, well, Dad, I am now a father. I said, I'm going to be a father to you right now. I've done this in my practices. I felt what it's like to let go. I said, and see when it's your time to let go, I'll be holding your hand. I said, until you say I'm ready. And that's exactly what we did. And he smiled and he said, it's okay, son. I said, oh, I knew that. Now go and enjoy it. And off he did. And he was back a couple of days later as a message. I felt his presence. I thought, well done, Dad. So so there's a beauty in the understanding, because to know that your dad's not dead, that his consciousness has left this crippled body that was broken. And you
Yeah.
think, what a joy and I could feel the smile, the happiness. I don't know many other people who can actually smile like that when they feel the release or the ability to let go without holding. When I see people crippling themselves with grief, and not that everybody
Yeah.
does, but those who won't look for light in the
Yeah.
darkness or
Right.
won't try and find it, I look at them and think, oh, please let somebody in there. Please let
Right.
somebody in.
Yeah.
Just
Gordon,
just let us
I
open the door.
I don't know if you knew this, but Maisie, I put Maisie down 2 weeks ago. It was
Yeah,
amazing.
yeah, I did hear
Yeah,
that, James.
and right afterwards, and it was, of course, hard and difficult, but we had this understanding. Within 10 minutes, 5 minutes, she came into my truck. I was driving, and she was hopping on me like a puppy, and wanted me to feel that energy, that energetic energy, and look in my face, and I wish everybody could know that there is no ending. You just revitalize. It's just there. It is all the time, and it's always there for us if we want it. It's always there to tune into.
James, you know the lovely thing I just heard there? She's with Jean or Jeannie.
My mother.
She's with.
Thank you.
She's got her. I've got your dog, and I just feel as though. And do you know what? I've just heard, and I feel as though it is your mum. Your mother must have seen the spirit world because
Yes.
it's as though she's showing me, and she's calling them angels. She's saying these are my angels.
Yeah.
But here's the other thing, James. She's just shown me a lovely thing here with the dog that she's holding the dog, and she's saying to me, she says has exhausted himself because of this. You have, sorry, I'm talking, and I think I'm talking.
No,
as a
it's
woman.
true. It's true. I have.
And she's getting a bit bold with it. Now, he has exhausted him, and I've almost want to go that kind of real East Coast kind of. He's exhausted himself. He's exhausted, and she said, you gotta be kinder to yourself, James. She just said, tell him he needs to be kind to himself. That's it.
Very, very true.
And
Kellee did it. Kellee went through it with me, so Kellee knows. Yeah.
Do you know that's her message, and it's as simple as anything. But just be kind to yourself, James. Sometimes we just need to hear that. And listen, we all need to hear that. And I know if I need to hear it, you'll tell me from my mother.
You're darn right I will.
And God knows if you get my mother through, she was crazy in this life, and I don't think she's changed on the other side. She was actually. I think my mum and your mum would have been quite similar. They'd been quite.
Did she smoke cigarettes ever?
Oh, always.
I was gonna say this.
And
my mother did too. So
Lizzie. Do you know what my mum's maiden name was? Her real name was Bet Davis. That's my mother.
Really?
Oh my God!
Not the actress, but that was my mother's name.
I see them over there doing that.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah. And she spoke like that. She had that kind of tough Glasgow kind of thing. What do you want? Kind of thing.
Maybe you did have the same mother.
Yeah, actually, we do have the same mother. We do have the same mother. But you know the lovely thing there, you are, Neil. Chat. It's not even giving readings. We're chatting. Yeah. And if James's mother's there or my mother's there, then they'll throw something in. It's not. It shouldn't be difficult, should it? It should be a joy, the joy of spirit, the absolute joy.
My brother Michael again, everybody.
We love Michael.
He's the physical. He's physically here.
People are asking Gordon if you have a seventh son.
Are you kidding? I stopped it too. And besides, Kellee, if I would have felt the birth of one of them, I'd have stopped at one.
Right?
It was the poor wife that had to.
That's what I did. I had one, and that was it.
And that's it done. Yeah. Fantastic. But no, I don't think that I will give birth to another or bring in another seer into the world. One of my sons studied astrophysics and is a politician, so they don't follow in my footsteps.
Right, mine either.
Crazy, isn't it?
Really crazy.
Wow. We have some questions for you, Gordon. Is that all right?
Oh, good. Yeah.
Let's see.
Ask away.
How's your dog?
Fabulous. Cookie's lying beside me at the moment. He's sleeping, and Mr. Cookie. But Elizabeth Taylor, my other dog, she's fabulous, and she's a queen. She's adorable, but she's gone off to her bed. She's had enough of this. If she's not on camera, she's not in vogue. So no,
it's 2:00 in the morning.
Exactly. It's now half two.
Gordon, do you work with animals as an animal communicator?
All the time. Not in an official capacity. I have done many times, but in the messages I bring through, so often animals will come to people. Quite often. In fact, many years ago, I've written many books on all the subjects, but one of my favorite books was Animal Magic, which I put a little ad out there on the social media to say, can anybody send me an animal story? To shut it down 50 minutes later, with 250,000 stories sent. I thought, wow. This is not a book. This is the Magna Carta I'm going to be writing. It was huge. So I thought I chose the best stories because all of my life, as a medium, I have worked for animal charities, among many other charities, but one of the things I did in my early days, Kelly, was we started an animal charity service once a year. I inherited it actually from a great medium called Albert Best. And every year we kind of raised many thousands, and we still do. And I go and do hands-on work with animals. I love animals. So to me, spirit is spirit. And if it takes the form of a beautiful, compassionate, loving, non-conditional loving animal, then all the better. And they can see, telepathy is telepathy.
That's
Right.
right.
Animals look at us. I'm sure cats are the best at it. They just look at you and think, "What's wrong with these stupid human beings?" And they're looking, especially people like us, James and Kelly. They'll go, and these ones call themselves mediums, and they've no idea what I'm thinking.
Right.
Very good.
But yeah, I love animals, and every being communicates, and it's just you just need to set your vibration to the
Yeah.
knowing in that moment. Yeah.
And
I
Gordon, I
have.
have a question. I'm sorry, Kel.
No,
I
you
have a
go ahead.
question for you. Living with the, if you will, like an everyday existence, since this life of the mediums, the three of us are mediums.
Mm.
And how do you find that when you go into a space, maybe it's with a restaurant or a place you're going to work or meeting some people, and there's some, you feel like negative stuff going on, or how do you deal with
Um,
that? Just curious, as we
Once
all.
again, James, I mean, we're human and we feel human emotions in rooms and places. And I used to work on a TV show here called Most Haunted in the UK,
Oh,
and where we went to these
that's right.
so-called haunted places. I'm the worst medium in the world to take to that kind of situation because I have no fear of it. So when they take you in and 3 in the morning and you're supposed to go, oh, I feel something. They'd say, what do you get in this room? And I'll say, oh, the curtains don't match the sofas and the carpets are terrible. No, no, no. If I were dead, I wouldn't haunt this place. No, I really wouldn't. But and again, I think it's down to how you're affected. So as a sensitive, I can pick up somebody's anger at the next
Yeah,
table in a restaurant
Oh yeah.
yeah,
or somebody's sadness.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
remember, for many years I was a hairdresser, so I'd have people sat in front of
Oh,
me and I'd be
Can you
cutting their
tell us
hair.
about that, please? Let's not
yes.
keep up with
Yeah,
that. We want to know more about
and
that.
I remember, and the briefest way I can tell it, because one of the most incredible moments of my life as a medium happened while I was cutting hair. And it was a man came in at the end of my shift. I was supposed to go and see Tina Turner that night, live in concert in Glasgow.
Oh,
All my friends were going, well, the tickets. And anyway, I got a call from a spiritualist church in Edinburgh saying, you remember you're on tonight? And I said, oh, no, I'm going to see Tina Turner. No, no, we've sold all these tickets. And oh, no, I thought, oh, God, I've got to go into a dem. I was really angry. I was like, oh, why do I do this? Why do I do this? I was having one of those days. So I was getting a bit heavy handed with the electric clipper over heads. so, so there was some dodgy haircuts left the salon that day. At the end of the night, Kelly, a man walked in as we closed. Anybody who works in a shop or any kind will tell you.
oh,
The minute you close the door, somebody always says, are you closed?
yeah.
No, we normally leave the roller shutter door down. But something in me just melted, and I thought, okay, I'll let him in. And he came in, and I said, how can I help you, sir? And he said, I'd like a shave. I said, oh, okay. And it was only me left in the salon. All the staff had gone. And I'm lathering this man. And I've got my open razor. And I thought, no, a good tool to have while I'm in this mood, feeling, really annoyed at my life. Why do I do this? I kept saying. So I started to shave the gentleman. And as I looked up, and I could feel my heart race, I thought, what is that? And I looked, and in the mirror, there was a short blonde woman in a black dress, as clear as day. And so much so, I looked over my shoulder because I thought, is she there? And she wasn't. She was only in the mirror. And telepathy, the way you would talk to animals, my mind thought, who are you? I never said it. Who are you? And I could hear her voice touching my chest. That's the strangest
Mm.
thing to say. But the words went through me. I'm Judy. Tell him. And I'm looking at a stranger who I've never met. And his face is full of lather, and I've got an open razor at his throat. And I thought, yeah. And I said, sir, and I had to do it. I was compelled to do it. I felt it. And I said, sir, I said, do you know what a medium is? I think he thought, have you killed me? But he sat up and he said, what is it? And I could still see this lady, and I'm looking at him, and he couldn't. And I said, there's somebody called Judy who died. And he just started to shake and cry. And I thought, oh my God. And in my head, I thought, why are you here? Like, why are you're looking for something massive, quick, quick, quick. And she just opened her hand, and there was 3 lollipops in it. And I thought, seriously? That's what you give me, 3 lollipops? But I said it, say what you see. And I said, sir, she just said, thanks for the lollipops. And he just disintegrated into tears. It took me 20 minutes to get him to come round. At the end, he told me that Judy was his wife. and she died 6 months earlier. And he said, yesterday, he said, I went to her grave with my son, and he said, Dad, can we take lollipops to mum instead of flowers? And he had said, I wonder if my wife will ever see my son grow up. Is she somewhere?
Wow.
And I said, and why did you come to this salon? He said, I had no idea. I got out the taxi down there and I thought, is there anybody still opened? And I said, so what it shows me is how it's orchestrated.
Right.
Above us, there's a force that coordinates all of this stuff and choreographs it to the point that you're a partner. So an answer to my question, why do I do this? That's why I do this,
Yeah.
because there'll be a moment and I can't even make that moment happen. All I
Right.
have to do is be in the right place at the right time and be
Right.
open. And then
Just
then
receive it.
magic happens. And
Yeah.
the lovely conclusion, so that people don't think that mediums are, oh, look at us poor mediums, we're all downtrodden. We have to do this. 2 years later, I actually had the most incredible thing happen to me where I won't go into it all, but I had a private session with the fabulous Miss Tina Turner, who I told the story to, and she sung for me. She said, "I'll do a little concert just for you." So she really is. She really is simply the best. And
Oh
so,
my.
so you see,
Wow. Isn't that amazing? No,
karmically,
thank
but
you.
karmically, you can lose nothing if you're genuine and you're doing it from your heart, and you don't need to explain all this do's and don'ts. I think I've studied every religion, every philosophy, and if people say, "What do you believe?" and I'll say, "Whatever's happening today." I don't want to be clever. I don't want to always be right. I just want to learn to do the right thing when it's
Right.
required. That's it. Simple, simple
Did you
philosophy.
did I read that you had taught or you were done a show with therapy and psychic ability or
I
psychic
did, yeah.
therapy? Can you tell me about that? That's
Well,
fascinating.
psychic therapy was we took a lot of pop
Right?
stars and celebrities from the 1980s. I loved all that music, and I used to be a hairdresser then, so I did
Right.
women's hair, really big hair, like Dallas and
There you go.
Dynasty. So all these people, and I would go to their homes, and maybe their career had lost because of gone downhill, because of a death or because of something tragic. So my job was to really kind of just work with them on the show, and we'd talk about their life. We'd do the whole celebrity bit, and then I would sit down and do a reading and try and find the core moment where they lost it.
Yeah.
And for many of them, it was when they'd lost a parent or a loved one or somebody. And at that point, that's when it would become more tender. And you would think, and so many of the viewers would see a different side to these celebrities and they think, oh, they were crazy, they did drugs and stuff. And they would all be very candid, Kelly, and they would tell you things like, that's when I took too much drugs. I mean,
Mhm.
one guy who was headlining in a West End show that I did, and he said, I said to him, your father, whatever was in his father was Scottish, I remember, give him this thing. I said, your father was standing watching you as you lay on the street like a drunk underneath
Mm.
your name in lights in the theatre. I said,
Wow.
now that's what you call rock bottom. The only way from that, sir, is up. I said, so get up and get on with life. And it was incredible because he did. And he became a big friend. And he said, Gordon, you're so right. I said, I wasn't right. Your dad was right. That wasn't me who said that. I didn't know you did that. And he said, that was the moment I woke up and looked, and there was a crowd of people looking at me. And when I looked up, he'd slept there the whole night. He didn't know where else to go. But I suppose celebrity and things like that, James, can take people into areas of themselves
Sure.
Mhm.
where they get totally lost
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
the pressures and all the things. And when I was younger, I didn't have much tolerance for a lot of people's bad behaviour until I got older and realised we all have the potential to behave like that. But the other thing, but
It's true.
the other thing is because you're living in life, you, being alive means that you run the risk of hurting yourself or hurting other people. And
Mm.
to be an adult, you have to realize that you can hurt and you can hurt others. You'll never not know how to deal with it if you don't understand that. And it's as you get older, the beautiful thing I'm going to be 60 this year, and I absolutely love that I know what I know now.
Yeah.
And
Sure.
it's
Me
just the
too.
most precious gift to be alive and know that everything's okay.
Yeah.
And
It's the best, actually.
isn't
It
it
is.
Yeah.
brilliant?
It's the
It is.
best.
It
Yeah.
really is. It really is.
Mm.
I agree.
You're bringing
And
such joy to everybody's heart, they're
Oh,
saying
do you
tonight.
know, I hope so because a lot of people used to call me the happy medium.
they really.
Strike a happy medium. Somebody else, because we were in a steakhouse one night, called me medium rare. Um, but I think the other thing, Kelly, is when people go on a spiritual path, they can get so immersed and bogged down. It's like somebody finding religion for the first time.
Yeah.
They want to convert the whole world. You want to tell
Mhm.
the world about what you've found. And that can be a bit annoying, actually, to the people around you. So I always say to people, when you do find that spiritual moment for yourself, feel it for you. Try and let it work into your life. Don't go crazy with it, because
Yeah.
it can be obsessive. So we need to learn. You
True.
mentioned the word earlier, Kelly, to ground ourselves in the reality that there's a magic to this life if you can
Mhm.
just open your eyes, and if you can see beyond the perimeters of what you're told, and know that, wow, look what's out
Right.
there. It's incredible.
Right.
Absolutely
Right.
incredible.
People are asking about your books.
Oh yeah. What were they called again? I
Well,
did write quite
there
a
was
lot of
just a
books.
question we had about three most important parts. I thought Renee, the most important parts of development for a medium. I think there was a question that asked
Oh,
earlier.
I think making development part of your
There it is.
life.
There. What three things can you do daily to help develop your
Oh,
medium skills?
daily. Well, I think first of all, one of the things is don't over expect things of your day. So a lot of people start the day by saying, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. And halfway through the day, they're exhausted and they've done nothing. And then they feel let down. Don't do that stuff. To me, if you're going to do anything spiritual, sit down in the morning and count your blessings. Look what I've got.
Yeah,
Don't look what you don't have.
gratitude. Gratitude. It's
Count
very
your
important.
blessings and say, wow, I'm really lucky. I can see. I can, and I do that because I know so many people have
Yeah.
lost sight, lost their hearing. So every faculty I have, my body rejoices in that. So I'm thankful for what I've got, and I don't care about what I don't have. I'm not meant to. If I want to balance my mind, I will either do it in the garden or in the house. I would sit and just have a little meditation. But every meditation or any development thing I've ever done, the latter part I always dedicate it away from you. And it's a Buddhist thing that I do. Dedicate away the merits of what you've just done to the world, to the universe, to other people, to dogs, cats, whatever. Get used to doing compassionate things with your prayers. And finally, resolve yourself before you go to bed at night that you've had another great day. Just, to
Yes.
me, development is the most simple thing in the world, but it's ongoing. You can't go into development and say, I'm developed, da-da. No, 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 no.
A lot of
Somebody
mediums.
once said that. Have you
Yeah.
found yourself? Here I
A lot
am.
of
Yeah.
students. A lot of students say that. How much longer do I have to
Oh,
develop? Your whole
Oh
life,
no.
right?
How much longer do I have to
work through your traumas first, please God.
but there's the other thing, Kelly, who in their 20s or 30s, I know I couldn't, understands themselves. You
Oh,
don't.
you don't.
But of course, you know everything then, don't you? You're like,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
know everything. And oops, my cookie boy, down you go slowly, son. Oh, there you go. Good boy.
Right.
Sorry, I had to let the dog go down. But yeah, people think they know everything at that age, and quite rightly so, I suppose. That's the time you think, But development is your life. And even now, I still sit in circle and I learn new things all the time. Every time I give a demonstration of mediumship, I learn something new about it.
Yeah.
Nothing's the same, and
Do you
neither
go
should
into
it
it,
be.
Gordon? Do you go into it? Because I tend to do this, and but maybe 2 or 3 years, 3, 4 years, maybe I'll go to demonstration differently each time, and I ask Spirit to show me something different, to give me something
Absolutely.
different,
Mhm.
to make something me
Yeah.
understand. I love that.
I
It's
think
really,
we're all of the same kind of mind that it's important for us still to be learning.
yeah.
Can you imagine you'd
Mhm.
finished learning? What would you do?
Oh, no,
No.
no,
True.
no, no, no.
No.
More
I
to
mean,
learn. More, you know.
I have a granddaughter now who's 4 years old, and she's the most incredible little thing. And I just love how her mind works. And I look at that and think, wow, I'm studying this child's incredible inquisitive mind. And she's
Yeah.
just fabulous because she can find little things that nobody else would think of. And I think,
Right.
isn't that wonderful?
I
So
have
to
to
me,
I
it's,
have to
it's a
tell you,
wonderful thing.
my grandson is 5. And when he was 4, I asked
Uh,
him, and he has no religion. He wasn't, we
mm.
weren't raised with religion. So I said, August, what's heaven like? And he said, oh, Gigi, heaven, it's so beautiful. I paint in heaven. It's so beautiful.
Oh,
And
wow.
I said, you do? Are you going to paint this time? And he said, no, I'm going to do something different. And you know what? And then he said, and you know what, Gigi? They take away all your memories when you come here. I said, they
Wow.
do. Why do they take away your memories? And he said, so you can create new memories. He was 4,
Straight from the mouths of babes.
right?
It's so true. It was like I did a painting of my granddaughter, and I paint. So, and I was trying to paint in the style of Monet. Why not? And I was doing this, and I called it a little girl with flowers because my son had taken a beautiful photograph of her standing in this garden full of flowers, and she had just this bunch that she'd picked, and it was so sweet and innocent. And I had it framed, and I was giving it to my ex-wife as a gift. And when the wee one came in, and she looked, she just stood, and I said, "Who's that little girl?" And she went, "Oh, I don't know." She said, "But that's my garden." And I said, "That's not your garden. That's my special garden that I go to." And I
Ah,
actually made half the garden up from my mind. She said, "That's my special garden, Papa. How did you know that?" And my son's looking at
Wow.
me going, "We don't," because they were in an apartment. They didn't have a garden. And I was like, "Oh, that's weird."
Right.
But again, it felt otherworldly, Kelly. It felt like it
Right.
was otherly. It was as though she was talking directly from another
Right.
time, another place. And I just left it at that because I don't think we should disturb children's mind. I think we should let them be children.
Yeah.
And whether they're psychic or not, what do they know of
Yeah.
psychic? If somebody said to
Right.
me, "Were you psychic as a child?" I don't know. I know I
yeah.
did things and said things, but
Mm.
how would I even know that word? And how would I know that there was any meaning to it unless somebody tells me? Because as a child, it's innocent and it's normal and natural.
Gordon, I want to throw something in here.
Mm,
That you and I, when I met you, was like, oh my God. First of all, people told us for years we have to meet each other. And they go,
yeah.
have you met Gordon? He's a brother. I said, who? Gordon's with, okay. And yes, I've been told so many times to do it. Gordon was told the same thing. And we met each other, was like, wow, this is really weird because they're very similar. And
Yeah.
one thing I noticed that Gordon has and I have is very similar. That little child within still
Yeah.
plays and still has fun.
Yeah.
Always play.
We love to have fun, and
Hmm.
fun, you have to have fun. No matter
Yeah.
how old you
Yeah.
are, you have to have fun. The child within has to grow and learn and laugh and expand, right?
That's so special.
Yeah.
But when you think of the growth of a child's mind, our mind probably grows so much more at an accelerated rate from that young age of 3 up till about 7 or 9 or so. It's just a sponge
Yeah.
drinking in everything. So if you can remain childlike, not childish, if you can have that childlike curiosity,
Yeah.
you will play as a child and you will enjoy moments and you'll have fun and you'll still grow and be expanded. We don't always need to sit down and be very pious and be the thinker and yes, I think therefore I am. Usually for me after dinner I drink therefore I am. So I have a glass of wine. No, and one of my interviews, one of the journalists said to me, "So you do Buddhism, you teach kind of Eastern meditations, and you're a medium." And he said, and back then I smoked cigarettes, and he said, "So and you smoke?" And I said, "Well, yeah, I do." He said, "Do you drink?" And I said, "Yeah." He said, "Oh, and what else do you do?" And I said, "I still have sex," and he said, "Oh, and doesn't that hamper what you're doing?" And I said, "Look, I'm going to tell you something. Whatever your choice is in this life, if you're happy doing what you're doing, it
Yeah.
will reflect in who you are. So if you do something to make you happy, if you don't eat meat because you feel good about it, you should feel good. If you do something that makes you feel good, your body will tell you when you don't need to." I said, "But I stopped all of those when I first went into development," which I did actually. And he said, "And how did that make you feel?" I said, "It was a terrifying 5 minutes." But I
Ah!
did. I eventually did stop because my body said, "That's enough of this. That's enough." So, but being alive means that you have to experience a bit of this life. We're
True.
supposed to experience this life.
Yeah.
We don't come in this life to stand on the edge, and go look at it. We're not observers of this life. We are players, and you need to know what's right and wrong, good, bad. These are all the things you measure through your own experiences. A life without, what is it? Socrates, the unexamined life is not worth living.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
So
it's
true.
so true.
And you have to be able to take risks.
Oh yeah,
You got to jump
yeah,
in. You got to jump in.
absolutely.
Hey, what the heck?
Yeah.
What's the worst that could happen?
To
You
quote,
jump
to
in.
quote Sister Shirley, to reach the fruit of the tree, you have to go out on a limb. Oh, Shirley MacLaine.
Yeah.
Oh, she's a dame, isn't she? She's fabulous.
She's a dame. Yeah, I've worked with
Yeah,
Shirley. That's
Miss
Shirley. Yeah,
MacLaine.
that was the first book I read out on a limb when I really got into it.
Me
And
too.
I wrote her a card. I was working for some producer and I had her address. I was doing some kind of
Mhm.
a celebrity garage sale. And I actually wrote her a card and I just said, thank you very much for the book out on a limb. It really opened me up to, and this is before I was a medium, way
Wow.
before. And I put it in the post thinking nothing would happen. Christmas Eve, I got a card from her, and it
Oh,
said, she was the cover, "Dear James, thank you for your thoughts in your own world of cherries, Shirley." And then I met her in a different way. Like many years later, I met Shirley and became good friends with Shirley. And I actually bought her condominium once from her.
Wow.
And
Well, do you know, Kelly? I mean, I don't know how much James has told you, but the connections that he and I have, the similarities to our life.
Oh, a
very
lot.
similar.
Many,
Oh,
many. I read
Very.
Shirley's book. That's James.
Right.
When I was
met
first
her
getting into
too.
it,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and I opened the book, and I read it started something like Malibu Beach at sunset told me
That's
there's got to be more
Yeah.
to life than this. And as I read that line, I thought I'm going to meet Shirley MacLaine on Malibu Beach.
right.
And anyway, I went to Malibu many, many years later, and I never met Shirley MacLaine.
Oh,
I'd been in Hollywood and all the different places. And this one time I was out in Malibu. I wasn't meant to be there, and I was on the beach, and I smoked then, and I was having my cigarette, and this young lady came running past, and it was the actress Daryl Hannah, who'd just
Oh,
been in the
sure.
film Mermaid, and she said,
wow.
"Can I borrow a cigarette?" I said, "Why do you intend to give it back?" And then I gave her the, and I laughed, and she laughed, and then I said, "Go on, run into the sea and swim," and she just laughed at me because I expected her to just run in and swim. But anyway, I was disappointed because I had my cigarette. I thought, well, I thought Shirley MacLaine would turn up if I just came here and waited in Malibu Beach. Anyway, the next day I was in the hairdressers. We were filming something in the hair salon in Malibu, and I did a reading briefly for the receptionist who had Scottish ancestry. Oh, your dad's here. His name's Bill. He's from Aberdeen. Oh my God. So she said, "How can I pay you?" And I said, "I don't want anything." She said, "No, no, no, please." I said, "Unless you can summon Shirley MacLaine like that, then." She went, "Oh no, that I can do." She made a phone call, and Miss MacLaine was filming in Malibu, and she came up and she said, "You're the Scottish guy I've been wanting to meet you." So true hairdressing fashion. She said, "Can you do me a reading?" I said, "Where?" And she went, "The stock cupboard in a hairdresser." So I was at home doing a reading in the stock cupboard with Shirley MacLaine. And then she took me for lunch, and we talked all things Universal. So it
Yeah.
was the most, and I told her about my story about Malibu Beach. She says, "So why did you ever doubt it?" And I said, "I know." And she said, "No, but there'll come a point when you don't in the future, son." And I thought, that's true. And again, because she had that wonderful depth to her wealth of knowledge and experience. And this is what I say to younger people: stop trying to be or compete with people who have been down the road before you. Listen to them. That's why we have two ears and one mouth.
Mhm.
Listen more when it comes to that. People can
Yeah.
teach us things and never be
Yeah.
averse to hearing. It's a wonderful gift.
Yeah. Wow.
Well, you're a wonderful gift. You're a
Me?
wonderful gift.
Certainly.
Listen,
Truly.
And you're going to be in August. You're coming to San Diego in August for
I
everybody.
am coming to San Diego in August.
We're
Yeah,
going to doing workshop together in
and
August.
we're
So
both going to wear a kilt. That's going to be something.
That's going to be
Wow,
something.
yes, I'm
it
surprised. Yeah,
really is.
There you go.
No, but it's true, and it'll be a joy to do that because I love America. I toured America for many years with Hay House and with Sylvia Brown, me and Sylvia, Doreen Virtue,
so good old
Wayne
Sylvia
Dyer.
Brown. Yes,
Oh,
yes.
Auntie Sylvia, I used to call her. And she loved me as Sylvia because I used to impersonate her for her. And she used to say to me, she'd say, "Gordon, do me." And I'd go, "What do you want?" And we would laugh. And she'd say, "Okay, do me doing a reading." And I'd go, so we had the funniest time. And me and her used to sit and laugh for hours. But again, going away from that side, Sylvia could give me stories about when she was young. And I love listening to people's lives and their stories. And I
Mm.
would spend hours just listening to Sylvia. And she had an incredible early life. And she was a wealth of knowledge. So again, as much as my stories always have laughter in them, Sylvia and I laughed so much. But we also had many times where we would sit down and I could really love to listen to her stories and her teachings. So yeah, I love America. It's my other home.
Well, you'll be in San
Oh,
Diego for a week in August. We're putting that together right now, everybody. So
Mm.
we'll have it on my website.
oh, that'll be great. Well, you have been just a pleasure to have on. Everybody is loving you. You're such a gift.
Well, do you know what it
Truly a
is,
gift.
Kelly? It's 2 o'clock in the morning, and normally people are exhausted over here at that time. I'm actually plugged into a life support machine. As soon as when this finishes, they're going to switch me off for the night.
You're amazing.
Fun.
Oh my God. And before we go, I just want to say that on February 12th, James and Dr. Shirley Pellizzari and I are doing an event, and it's called the COVID event, the COVID effect. And it's grief, trauma, and isolation. And it's going to include Dr. Shirley. It's going to be talking about the psychological tools to
Wow.
help you get through these periods. I'm going to be talking about everything from a spiritual standpoint. James and I are going to be having a discussion about this. And we also have a woman named Geraldine Glass. So she's an international bowl, singing bowl experience that we're going to have. So it's going to
Healing
be quite
bowls,
an
right?
event. Healing bowls. And that is on February 12th. So please
Amazing.
check that out, everybody.
Sounds fantastic.
Gordon, stay on for just a little bit after we
Oh,
go off
yeah.
the air.
I will indeed. But
Oh, please.
guys, can any of you guys who are watching in and listening in and whatnot, I really do wish you all a safe return to joy, happiness, and getting on with life again. Because you know what? It's all about to change, and all is well. In the words of my lovely dear Louise Hay, all is well.
Yeah.
God bless.
God bless
yeah.
everybody.
Thank
Oh,
you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you
And a
Thank
so
joy,
much,
an
everybody.
absolute joy.
See everybody
Thanks,
next
good night.
week.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
You've been listening to Both Sides Now and Beyond, featuring spiritual medium and master teacher James Van Prague and spiritual medium and psychotherapist Kellee White.
That was great. Maybe we changed some lives.
And maybe opened up some minds.
Which way do I turn?
Right. I mean left.